Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and I'm sorry, I know my voice sounds terrible. That is because I'm actually sick. This is also why we didn't have a live stream or a video yesterday, and I'm very sorry about that, but there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Anyway, in today's video, I would like to discuss something that is of particular importance to me, and that is the subject of the freedom, or should I say artistic freedom for someone who is creating anything. Really, it could be a piece of art, it could be a video game, it could be a movie, it could be whatever you want. And in my opinion, I feel that when it comes to something, particularly when it comes to video games, because I'm more passionate about video games than, you know, paintings or movies or any of that kind of stuff. And it is my opinion that artists shouldn't really be bound by what certain people might think about the things that they have done. And you guys are wondering, so what is the context for this? Why are you talking about this? And during Paris Games Week, a new trailer for the game The Last of Us 2 was shown. That trailer was of a particularly graphic nature. It had a lot of violent scenes, and I do mean really violent scenes. And the response to the internet to some of that has actually been pretty negative, with certain articles actually saying stop using violence to sell your video games, and other articles saying this particular trailer actually made me physically ill in my stomach. It made me feel bad because it was so graphic and so violent. And it's important to me to kind of talk about this because I feel that this is a topic that has been kind of boiling up inside me for a while now. Particularly, I think it kind of gotten started when people started addressing that, oh, there's not enough female protagonists in the video game industry. And I know these are two very different topics in a way, you know, violence in video games and female representation in video games. But to me, what ties both of these things together is that what I want for video games is the artist's vision. The artist's vision in its purest form. So what I want from a video game is what the person that was designing that video game, that is producing, that is creating the art, all that team, I want to see the vision that that team has for their video game in its purest, rawest form. You know, I don't want them to be constrained by what society thinks is too violent, by what society thinks it is socially acceptable. Because, I mean, let's face it, if this was really, like, if artists were really as constrained as some of the people writing these articles would like them to be. Let's take Dark Souls, for example, because it's a very easy topic that a lot of people in my audience can relate to. Do you guys think Guinevere would have had big breasts? Do you guys think Guinevere would have be wearing the clothes that she is wearing? And I know Guinevere is actually, let's not get into specific spoiler type stuff. But it's like, do you guys think that would have been a thing? Do you guys think that everything would have been depicted the way that it was depicted in Dark Souls if, you know, the team was constrained by all of these social concepts that are around that particular game? Do you think that Bayonetta could be the way that it is if Platinum Games was constricted by the social constrictions that some people would like it to be? Do you think Carmageddon would have been what it was if the team was constricted? Do you think Grand Theft Auto 5 would have been what it was if the team was constricted by the social constrictions that some of these people are asking for? It wouldn't be. These games would be very, very different. And I'm just giving you guys a couple of examples here, right? These games would be very, very different if they would have to please all of these social constrictions that are erupting around video games. And the latest of which has just been this kind of like reaction to The Last of Us 2 trailer being too violent. And my response to that is like, look, if you think this video game is too violent for you, you know, there's a really easy solution to that. Don't play it. Maybe the game is just not for you. You know, if I thought the video game was too violent for me, I probably wouldn't play it. There are certain games that I will not play, not because they're too violent, but because I see the mechanics and I'm just like, I'm not that into it. You know, There are a lot of video games out there, people. As a matter of fact, there are more video games out nowadays than pretty much any other time in existence because of indie developers and how easy the tools have become to use that create those video games. And there is something out there for everyone. You don't have to like everything. And just because you played The Last of Us 1, that doesn't mean that you're going to like The Last of Us 2. You can ask a lot of people that played Dark Souls 2 and freaking hated it, okay? It's legitimately that simple. There's video games out there for everyone. And what I personally want, and I'm curious to know what you guys want as well, but what I personally want is I want to see the original vision that these artists have for their video games. I want to see what they had in mind when they were creating it. I don't want them to be like developing a video game and all of a sudden there's this trailer reaction. It's like, oh my God, this trailer is too violent. It was too gratuitous. Maybe we should dial back the violence. This is the kind of discussion I don't want the artists to have. If we could, I would just rather artists be completely segregated in a fucking bubble away from society when they are creating these video games so that they would not be influenced at all by outside opinions. Now, sometimes outside opinions are a good thing when it comes to like maybe certain gameplay mechanics that weren't as polished as they should have been. But like when it comes to the artistic direction, because I kind of feel like the violence, the thematic violence for The Last of Us 2 is an artistic direction that is going to be important for the story. It is going to be important for character development that certain scenes are played out the way that they are played out. And anyone who's ever experienced a story game where they've been entranced by the characters in that story, they know how important it is. Every single action that a character takes in a story-driven game dictates how every single person feels about that character. A really good example of this could be, for instance, when I played Until Dawn, where there was a character in that game that I initially labeled him as a complete asshole. I just thought this guy's a complete asshole and I fucking hate him and he fucking sucks. By the end of the game, that character to me was completely different from the beginning of the game. Like there was a full 180 shift. Okay? And that is character development. But in order for those things to happen, these characters have to go through certain events. And I never want to see video game artists constricted by what anyone else thinks about them. Okay? Or not about them, but what anyone else thinks about what they're creating. You need to understand, just because someone is making a violent video game doesn't mean they're doing it for the purposes of achieving maximum sales or getting as much shock value out of an audience. It might just, sometimes that might happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but usually you can identify when that happens. And I don't think The Last of Us is going to be that case. But anyway, it just so happens to be the vision that they have for those characters. To me, it is just that simple. And I want to see that original, uncensored, like completely the vision that they have, you know? Like, I want them to look at that trailer, and if they themselves, the artists themselves, see that, okay, that trailer is a little bit over the top. Maybe we shouldn't have done this or shouldn't have done that. But those are conclusions I would like them to reach for themselves, not conclusions that I would like to see society impose upon them. And that is my thoughts on how violent the trailer is in The Last of Us 2, which, to be completely honest, I've seen way worse. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. Remember to subscribe so that you're always notified when there's a new video on the channel. And I will see you guys in the next one.